Yeah, hello and how are ya? Hey friends, welcome to the Shen Show. I am your host, Shenandoah Briscoe, coming to you from right here in St. Charles, Missouri. Yep, that's right. Well, today's Monday, March the 30th. Got a happy birthday shout out going out to Jill Bastin Thompson and Janel uh, Lichtenschlager. Lichtenschlager. Lichtenschlager? I know it's Lichtenschlager. Lautenschlager. That's the one, Lautenschlager. I knew better. I knew better, Janel Lautenschlager. I knew that I knew that I knew. And that's why you got it. Janel Lautenschlager. I knew I knew that. I did. I know the Lautenschlagers. They're relatives. All right, all right. Anyway, because I knew I was pronouncing something wrong, and well, that was just it. It wasn't Lautenschlager. It was Lautenschlager. Uh-huh. All right. Anyway, birthday shout outs, Jill and Janelle. All right, we're gonna sing for you. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready for this? Well, hey, I heard it's your birthday today. So happy birthday, I'ma say. Jill and Janelle, you gotten a brand new year older today. So happy birthday to you, I say. I say, hey, I heard it's your birthday today. So happy birthday, I must say. You're 1 more year older today. So happy birthday to you, I say. And many more. Ya cha 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 cha. Ba doo 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 cha. All right. Hey, enough of that, enough of that. How about the local weather for the St. Charles viewing area? That's right, today is March 30th. Sunshine and clouds mixed with high temperatures, around 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds are west and northwest at actually, no, winds are coming straight out of the north at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies overnight, lows around 44 degrees Fahrenheit, and winds are going to be light and variable, northeast at 5 miles per hour. How about in the morning time? Tuesday, March 31st, cloudy skies early, then partly cloudy in the afternoon. Highs around 56 degrees Fahrenheit, and winds north to northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mostly clear skies overnight, lows near 35 degrees, uh, due to 35 degrees, and then the winds, winds, those are the things that blow. They're going to be coming out of the northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, April 1st, mainly sunny skies. That's right. Highs around 62 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds are going to be east to southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour, and then partly cloudy skies during the evening. Will give way to a few cloudy skies overnight. Lows near 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and winds are going to be southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour, that is. Overnight cast Thursday, April the 2nd. That's right, overcast during the day. Highs near 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds are going to be southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. How about cloudy skies early with low showers later on at night? Lows around 49 degrees Fahrenheit, and winds are going to be southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chances of rain 40%. And then Friday, that's right, Friday, April the 3rd, partly cloudy skies in the morning will give way to cloudy skies during the afternoon. Highs around 73. Sorry about that, 71 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds are going to be southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy with showers and lows around 46 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds west at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chances of rain 50%. There you have it. That's your 5-day forecast for the remainder of this here week here in St. Charles, Missouri. Now I'm telling you what, folks, this is getting more and more difficult because, well, my Dragon Naturally Speaking stopped working in in my Google. In Google, and I don't know why. It works fine in Internet Explorer, which I'm not a big fan of, but I might have to swap out of Google and start using Internet Explorer because they work with my voice recognition program. I've tried several different things to get it back working and operating properly, but it just doesn't want to do it. Anyway, I've been a whistling all morning long, and I thought I'd do some more right now, and I'm going to whistle this here song. Little drinky drink of the H2O. That's right. Hydrogen dioxide. That's correct. Water to you and me. From this valley, they say you are leaving. What shall miss your bright eyes and sweet smile? For you take with you all of the sunshine that has brightened our pathway a while. Then come sit by my side if you love me. Do not hasten to bid me adieu. Just remember the Red River Valley and the cowboy that loved you so true. For a long time, my darling, I have waited for the sweet words you never would say. Now at last all my fond hopes have vanished, for they say that you are going away. Then come sit by my side if you love me. Do not hasten to bid me adieu. Just remember the Red River Valley and the cowboy that loves you so true. Go to sleep. There we go. The Red River Valley. That's Marty Robbins' tune. All right, got another one, and this one is just due to the fact that we're all trapped up inside, bottlenecked. And you know what? We should be thinking of our friends and neighbors at times like this. If there's anything out there that you think that you could do for a neighbor, and if you're not sick with any symptoms of the cold, virus, or flu, then maybe you could do something for your neighbors. And just remember them, because at some point in time, everybody needs a helping hand. Sometimes in our lives we have pain, we have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm going to need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if you have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it It won't be long till I'm going to need somebody to lean on. So just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there's a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me, call me. If you just need a friend, call me, call me, oh, call me. If you just need a friend, call me. If ever you need a friend, call me, call me, call me. Call me. Oh, you know what? That reminds me of another song that's similar to that, and I can't think of the words of it right now. It's got to do with, I don't know, it was in one of the movies that I watched that I kind of like. It's not Lean on Me. What is the name of that song? Well, I can't remember it. It's time for the kids to gather around the show, though. Time to call in all the kids from out there in the yard, out there in the, well, and if they're out in the yard, hopefully they're not out there with all the neighbors. They're keeping their 6 feet of distance, of course. You know, COVID-19. That there. It's COVID-19, and I refuse to call it the coronavirus anymore, because I tell you what, my friends over at Corona Beer have really lost a chunk of change on account of it being called the coronavirus. People associated Corona Beer and coronavirus as the same and one and same. No, I tell you what, they do have some similar side effects. Corona Beer, if you drink too much Corona Beer, you're going to wake up in the morning with a headache, probably stuffy nose, illness, feel like you're wanting to throw up, and flu symptoms. Now, that's generally called a hangover. Now, if you get the coronavirus, you're going to have runny nose, flu symptoms, but these are things associated with with COVID-19, not Corona Beer. So, folks, just remember, go on out and buy your Corona Beer because, well, they need $1 or $2 here and there. Unless you live in Illinois, you better do it pretty doggone quick because they're going to shut down all beer and alcohol sales. That's right. Illinois is going to shut down all their beer and alcohol sales. That ain't a good thing. Cindy, you better get out there and you better get you some alcoholic beverages. I'm telling you what, if you're stuck in the house, you better get them now. 3 o'clock, I believe, is when they're going to shut them down. So get out, get up there, and get out your beer. Get your beer. Get your beer, I said. Don't get it here 'cause I ain't got no beer. Well, I got a couple of cans in there. Bud Ice, that's the one I choose. Bud Ice. You know what? I got another Wally's, yeah, Wally's resale. That's right. Go to if you're looking for some appliances, some outdoor furniture, toys, all kinds of things. Weed eaters, weed whackers. You know it. You got it. You need it. They got it. You can look and find almost anything you want. They've got it all, and it's all on Facebook. It's Willis Resale. That's WILLES. Willis Resale. Is it Wallace or Willis? W-I-E. W-E. W-E. Willis Resale. That's right. You'll either talk to Rick or Dawn on the Facebook page. That's right. Go there and take a look around through the page. And, well, immediately after you log on to the page, there will be a drop box for message. And it'll ask us, hey, what do you want? And you just leave a message with whatever it be, and they are sure to get back to you. They get back to me. I bought a microwave from them. Boy, I tell you what, that there's the hottest microwave there is around. Not hot because they get them whole. They get them in like bundle sales and auctions and such like that, and they buy fresh to new objects there, purchases, and then they clean them up a little bit if they need it. 9 times out of 10, it's usually just a box damage is all that is the problem. So that's what they end up doing, and then they just resell it for you. They buy bundles of items, and then that way they can sell them at low prices. That's right, mega low prices. So Wallace Resale, that's right, on Facebook. All right, and then the other thing is that was brought to you, the weather was brought to you by Wallace Resale, but the story here is going to be brought to you by Kimberly Little's Bling Bling Show. That's right, she got the bling. She got the $5 bling on Kimberly Little. You go to her Facebook page and just click on there, the like button, and you'll see when she goes live with the bling bling. She got lots of bling bling, and she'll send it on out to you. $5 an item, rings and toe rings and earrings and necklaces and bracelets and ankle bracelets and all kinds of bling. So anyway, today's story is the story of Little Red Riding Hood. I said call all the kids in, and I went into commercials. That's because kids love commercials, don't you know it? The candy bar for your choice is no. I'm not going to tell you nothing about no candy bars because the kids are in the house now. All right, here we are, Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village near the forest. Whenever she went out, the little girl wore a red riding cloak, so everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood. One morning, the Little Red Riding Hood asked her mother if she could go to visit her grandmother, as it had been a while since they had seen each other. That's a good idea, her mother said. So they packed a nice basket for Little Red Riding Hood to take to her grandmother. When the basket was ready, the little girl put on her red cloak and kissed her mother goodbye. Remember, go straight to grandmother's house, her mother cautioned. Do not dawdle along the way, and please don't talk to strangers. The woods are dangerous. And so Little Red, don't worry, Mommy, said Little Red. I'll be careful. But when Little Red Riding Hood noticed some lovely flowers in the woods, she forgot her promise to her mother. She picked a few, watched the butterflies float about for a while, listened to the frogs croaking, roar, 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 and then she picked a few more. Well, Little Red Riding Hood, that is, was enjoying the warm summer's day so much that she didn't notice a dark shadow approaching out of the forest behind her. Suddenly, the wolf appeared beside her. "What are you doing out here, little girl?" the wolf asked in a voice as friendly as he could muster. "I'm on my way to see my grandmother, who lives through the forest near the brook," Little Red Riding Hood replied. Then she realized how late she was and quickly excused herself, rushing down the path to grandmother's house. The wolf, in the meantime, took a shortcut. The wolf, a little out of breath from running, arrived at grandmother's and knocked lightly at the door. "Oh, thank goodness, thank goodness! Come in, dear. I was worried sick that something had happened to you in the forest," said grandmother, thinking that the knock was her granddaughter. The wolf let himself in. Poor Granny didn't have time to say another word before the wolf gobbled her up. The wolf let out a satisfied roar and then poked through Granny's wardrobe to find a nightgown that he liked. He added a frilly sleeping cap and, for good measure, dabbed some of Granny's perfume behind his pointy ears. A few minutes later, Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf jumped into the bed and pulled the covers up over his nose. "Who is it, my dear?" he called in a creaky voice. "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood." "Oh, how lovely! Do come in, my dear," croaked the wolf. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the little cottage, she could scarcely recognize her grandmother. "Grandmother, what? Your voice sounds so odd. Is something the matter?" she asked. "Oh, I just have a touch of a cold," squeaked squeaked the wolf, adding a cough at the end to prove the point. "But, grandmother, what big ears you have!" said Little Red Riding Hood, as she edged closer to the bed. "The better to hear you with, my dear," replied the wolf. "But, grandmother, what big eyes you have!" said Little Red Riding Hood. "The better to see you with, my dear," replied the wolf. "But, grandmother, what big teeth you have!" said Little Red Riding Hood, her voice quivering slightly. "The better to eat you with, my dear," roared the wolf, and he leapt out of the bed, and he began to chase the little girl all around the room. Almost too late, Little Red Riding Hood realized that the person in the bed was not her grandmother, but a hungry wolf. She ran across the room and threw open the door, shouting, "Help, wolf! Help, help!" as loud as she could. A woodsman who was chopping logs nearby heard her cry and ran towards the cottage as fast as he could. He grabbed the wolf and made him spit out the poor grandmother, who was a bit frazzled by the whole experience, but still in one piece. "Oh, grandma, I was so scared," sobbed Little Red Riding Hood. "I'll never talk to strangers or dawdle in the forest again." "There, there, child. You've learned an important lesson. Thank goodness you shouted loud enough for the kind woodsman to hear you." The woodsman knocked out the wolf and carried him deep into the forest, where he wouldn't bother other people any longer. Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother had a nice lunch and a long chat. So there you go. That was Little Red Riding Hood. Now, I'm also would like to read, if at all possible. We'll see if I can't find another one to read, which would be um, 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 the story of Hansel and Gretel. Now, the story of Hansel and Gretel, I do believe, was what's his goof wrote that one? Nope, isn't Cheth Gunther also? Anyway, once upon a time, there lived a woodcutter and his wife. Their early days were lived in bliss in a small wood cottage with their two children, Hansel and Gretel. These two children grew up to be wise beyond their years. Hansel was smart, soft, and charming, where Gretel was poetic, cautious, and but quick-witted. The two children loved to skip stones in the lake half a mile over. Hansel and Gretel spent most of their time finding the perfect flatness skipping stones. Their collections of stones was large, as they spent more time collecting than actually skipping the rocks. Over time they had acquired a strange companion, a bird, who would steal their stones and hide them in various places all over the land, though Hansel and Gretel knew not why. At the peak of their childhood, a great famine struck the country where Hansel and Gretel lived. It left the rich secluded from the middle and poor classes. The merchants' class fought to survive, and the poorest of the poor plummeted into utter starvation. The woodcutter and his wife, along with Hansel and Gretel, eventually struggled to stay alive. The reoccurring moments of starvation gradually caused the woodcutter's wife to choose selfishness. One evening, after Hansel and Gretel had been tucked into bed, the woman approached her husband. We must survive the upcoming winter. We must, she stated. She started, we cannot feed everyone in this family. We must get rid of someone. This small house, we cannot. Well, what are we to do? The woodcutter asked. We must leave the children alone in the wooded forest. That way we will only have to feed ourselves, she replied. If we leave them there, they will surely starve, he cried. And if we keep them here, we will surely starve, she replied. Little did the woodcutter and his wife know Hansel and Gretel had been listening to their very whole conversation. Our mother does not want us any more, Gretel wailed. Shh, Gretel. Father will not allow her to get rid of us, Hansel replied, attempting to calm Gretel down. Oh, but what will Father do once we are left alone with our mother? Gretel asked. I think it through, he replied. Now Hansel was very smart. His plan of actions were always calculated and efficient. The next day, before they were ordered to start on the household chores, Hansel ran half a mile down to the lake. He gathered dozens of skipping stones. When he returned home, Hansel could see that his mother and sister were packing up for what looked like a normal journey into the woods, though Hansel knew that this time their mother had different plans for them. He held his sack of skipping stones tight as he approached his mother. Times are tough, my dear children. We must venture into the forest to help your father with his work, she declared. But both children started. No buts. Their mother scolded. No buts? But both children started. No buts. Either their mother scolded. There we go. And so Hansel, Gretel, and their mother journeyed into the thick woods forest. It was as eerie as thick fog on a stormy night. The sky was a dark gray, and the trees were black and gloomy. Luckily, Hansel had remembered to drop the shimmering stones on the ground every few feet so that they could follow them back on their return home. Hansel, what is that you think you're up to? Their mother shouted impatiently. Mother, mother, look at those squirrels in the trees. I swear they are dancing as if they are fit for the ball, Gretel called, using her quick wit in order to distract their mother. Gretel knew exactly what Hansel was up to. She pieced it together as she watched her mother's face scrunch up. Where? I see no squirrels. I see no dancing, their mother exclaimed, now confused and distracted, giving Hansel time to catch up. Oh, hurry up. We only need to travel a little bit further, their mother grumbled. Where are we going to, mother? Hansel asked. With no response, the children's worst nightmares were confirmed. The mother was going to leave them in the forest. Hansel dropped another rock, and Gretel heard it fall. They traveled for a while, Hansel occasionally dropping stones, until they reached a small clearing. Their mad mother ordered Hansel and Gretel to sit on a dead log. I'm going to gather wood. Stay here. I will come back for you shortly, she lied. The children stayed seated reluctantly. They waited and waited and waited, but their mother never returned for them. Hansel began to worry for their safety. He cried to Gretel, what if we are attacked or eaten? What about wolves, bears, cougars, raccoons? Gretel, oh Gretel, what are we to do? I will feel it out, she replied. Getting up from the dead log, She took Hansel's hand, and the two followed his trail of stones. Their flat surfaces shimmered in the moonlight. Hansel and Gretel finally arrived back home at the break of dawn. However, they were so tired that both immediately fell asleep right in front of their cottage door. They awoke, tucked in their beds, to the sound of the woodcutter and his wife arguing. "How could you leave our beloved children in the forest all alone?" They heard their father ask sadly. We will all starve if they stay here. There are too many mouths and not enough food. It isn't the only way, she replied. Now Hansel and Gretel surely knew their luck was over. Hansel tried to think of a way to get the two of them out of this mess. He looked all over in search of their skipping rocks. Since they were nowhere to be found, Hansel figured the mischievous bird had stolen them all. Hopeless, Hansel and Gretel went back to their beds and waited for their mother to come and take them to the forest. Sure enough, the woodcutter's wife made her way up to the children's room to retrieve them. She ordered Hansel into his walking boots and Gretel into her washing clothes, and off they went once more. Before they left, however, the woodcutter secretly slipped Hansel a small loaf of bread. Hansel saw the look of despair on his dear father's face. Hansel slipped the bread into his pocket, crushing it into mostly crumbs, and sadly followed behind his mother and beloved sister. Every few feet he dropped those breadcrumbs on the ground. Soon their mother grew suspicious of Hansel. "Hansel, what is it that you think you are up to?" she shouted. Gretel, hearing this, quickly came up with a way to distract their mother. "Mother, mother, a wild forest fairy just flew into your hair." Panicked, Hansel and Gretel's mother began to shake and squirm. She disheveled her hair and screeched with fear. This gave Hansel time to catch up. "You children will be the death of me. Hurry along now," their mother grumbled. They traveled for a few more miles until they came to a very small clearing, even smaller than the previous. "I am going to find a good place to chop wood. Both of you stay put. I will come back for you shortly," she commanded and declared. So the children waited and waited and waited, but their mother never returned for them. Hansel offered Gretel what was left of the bread. "This is not what you have been dropping on the ground," Gretel remembered. "I dropped most of our skipping stones last time. Mother led us down a different route today, and that stupid bird must have stolen all the stones. The breadcrumbs will be here in the morning, and we can follow them on our return home," Hansel replied. "In the morning, Hansel? I will not stay here overnight," Gretel stated. Then, thinking about Hansel's panic last night, Gretel began. "What about wolves? What about—" "Okay, no wolves, bears, cougars, raccoons, muskrats, or squirrels will get us. I get. Let's just promise we will get out of here," Hansel said, interrupting his sister. They promised each other and then relaxed in the very small glade, resting their feet and playing guessing games. Suddenly their noses were filled with an oddly sweet aroma. The children followed the wonderful scent. It grew stronger and more delicious. Mouths dripping with drool, Hansel and Gretel finally reached it. In front of their eyes and nose sat a house made entirely out of the most delicious-looking sweets. The roof was coated with fluffy white icing, pink sticks, syrup drizzled and dripping along the sides of the dark chocolate exterior, A gumdrop door frame with was stopping a gumdrop door frame was sopping with sparkling icing sugar. A frothy milk chocolate river flowed under a gingerbread bridge that led to the gingerbread door, and a lollipop garden sat in front of a large crystallized sugar window. Hansel and Gretel stood stunned for a moment, and then, without caution or hesitation, they ran to the house and began stuffing their faces full of candy. "What little pretties have come to my house today?" screeched an odd voice. "What little pretties have come to my house today?" screeched an odd voice. Hansel and Gretel stopped short and stared at one another. Each was messy and covered in candy. "Ugh!" they whispered, shouted in unison. "Oh, two little ones to enjoy," the voice screeched again. Hansel and Gretel turned and stared at a very small woman with scraggly hair, wearing a long pink dress. She was very strange looking and smelled quite funny, a little too sweet. The old woman then invited Hansel and Gretel into her house. "There's more candy in here, fresh candy, my sweets," she called to them, motioning them inside her house. Hansel immediately ran into the candy house, despite Gretel's caution of protest. After a while of standing outside, the old woman propped her jagged-toothed head out from the little house and beckoned Gretel. Come in, my, you are very pretty." With this, alongside her idea of Hansel stuffing his face in the entire interior of the house, Gretel eventually followed inside. When Gretel entered the house, she immediately heard the gingerbread door slam heavily behind her. She turned around and noticed that the entire inside of the candy house was made of solid steel. Inside the house were bags and bags of brilliant gold coins. Gretel whipped her head back around to see that Hansel was locked up in a cage, hanging directly over a boiling pot of water. This woman was no woman at all. She was an evil witch. "Now go sit at the table, little pretty," the evil witch commanded Gretel. "Help me slice up those chops. We are going to fatten him up," she exclaimed excitedly, pointing over at Hansel. Now Gretel understood the evil witch's plan. She had used her candy house to lure them inside so that she could eat them up for dinner. Gretel thought all hope was lost as she sat at the large table slicing meat. She sobbed and sliced, and she sliced and she sobbed. Gretel filled 3 large buckets full with the fatty food for the old woman to cook in the large boiling pot. Poor Hansel sat anxiously thinking of a way to escape. He watched as Gretel threw the scraps and bones into a separate pile beside the bucket of sliced meat. Suddenly Hansel was struck with a brilliant idea. He started to cough violently in an attempt to attract Gretel's attention. "Oh, quit your hacking. You best not be sick if I'm going to snack on you," the evil witch shrieked. All the commotion caused Gretel to look up in Hansel's direction. He motioned to her to distract the evil witch. Seeing her poor brother's desperation, Gretel scoured her brain for a way to distract the evil witch. After a moment of thought, Gretel cried and dropped her knife. "Oh my!" she cried. "What do you think you're doing? Get back to work!" the evil, selfish witch shrieked. once more. I think I saw a dragon outside, Gretel cried convincingly. Hansel held back laughter, since Gretel's claims were getting a little more and more ridiculous. A dragon, you say? The evil witch questioned. Oh, goodness, that was most definitely a dragon I saw. It would surely burn down the forest with its fiery breath, and then your candy house will be revealed to all the grown-ups in the land, Gretel declared. How will you ever catch children if your candy house is not secret to the grown-ups, who can no longer smell the sweetness of the candy? Gretel questioned with her voice sweet as the syrup that dripped from the roof. With this, the evil witch unlocked the steel or gingerbread door and ran outside in search of the supposed dragon. Hansel quickly motioned Gretel to hand him one of the bones lying in the scrap pile. Gretel held up a large bone, but Hansel shook his head. She held up a thick bone, but Hansel shook his head. And then, from the bottom of the pile, Gretel found the thinnest bone of all and brought it over to Hansel's cage, for she knew what he would be using it for. He told her his plan just in time for them to hear the evil witch hustling back in. Just as Gretel sat down at the large metal table, the evil witch stormed into the house looking puzzled. Well, no dragon in sight. Not even the tip of a tail or the smell of smoke, she exclaimed. Perhaps he smelled you coming, Gretel replied frankly, continuing to slice the chops. Dragons have a sharp sense of smell, you know, she said curtly. Humph. Chop longer. The larger, the better. Chop larger. The larger, the better. Little pretty, the evil witch demanded, closing the steel door, but forgetting to lock it. As the evil witch focused on Gretel's slicing, Hansel quietly maneuvered the thin bone around in the keyhole of his cage. Clink, clink, dink. Slowly and quietly, Hansel removed the bone and waited patiently for his plan to unfold. Once Gretel had finished her slicing, the evil witch walked it over to the pot, located directly underneath Hansel. Well, what are you waiting for, little pretty? Help me get this food into the pot, the evil witch ordered Gretel. The pot doesn't look quite hot enough, Gretel said. I will dip your little feet in, and we can check it, the evil witch sneered. How can you trust that I will say it is hot enough? I will surely lie, and then the food will never be cooked for my brother to eat, Gretel replied. The evil witch furrowed her brow and looked from the pot to Gretel and back again. Oh, I suppose you're right. Stay here. I will check to see if the water is almost at boil. The evil witch huffed. Gretel remained behind. As the evil witch approached the pot, Gretel waited for Hansel's signal. Just as the evil selfish witch brought the tip of her long, crooked nose to the boiling water, Hansel kicked his cage door open. This gave Gretel the signal to push the evil witch into the boiling pot of water. The evil witch toppled over into the pot just in time for Hansel to land right on her head, avoiding the hot water beneath his feet. The heat from the water melted the old witch into sweet, gooey syrup. The children ran out of the house at once, and they had gathered the sacks of gold that the evil witch had stolen over the years from the other children that had came by her candy house. Hansel and Gretel followed the path from which they first smelled the candy until they reached the very small glade where Hansel had last dropped breadcrumbs. However, the children found that their breadcrumbs had been eaten and replaced by their favorite stolen skipping stones by none other than the rascal bird that had stolen them. The bird chirped happily as it finished its last breadcrumb. Apparently the bird had been hungry too. Hansel and Gretel gathered their skipping stones in the bag of gold and made their way home. When they arrived, they ran into the embrace of their father, who had become a widower man after their mother had ironically died from food poisoning. Their father welcomed them home and apologized for letting their mother's selfishness overcome him, and they took care of him with pity until his death from a slower, more suitable, and unfortunately more painful food poisoning shortly after. The two siblings lived in happiness together for the rest of their days, sharing their newfound wealth with the land and, of course, skipping stones in the lake half a mile over while feeding their naughty bird breadcrumbs. The end. All right, folks, that looks like it's about it for me. Looks like it's time for our portion of the program called Our Daily Bread. And today's devotion is called Blessed Bread. Now, I'm going to be reading, what am I going to be reading? Matthew 26 through 29. Also, if you're following the Bible with Briscoe 2020, I'm going to reiterate 2020 because it's the Bible with Briscoe 2020, not just the Bible with Briscoe. You might pick up some of the stuff from the Bible with Briscoe, but the Bible with Briscoe 2020, we're going to be covering Judges 9 through 10 and Luke 5:17 through 39. Okay? All right, Matthew 26 through 29. That's what we'll be reading today. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body." Then he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is the my blood, the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now on until the day when I drink it anew with you in my Father's kingdom." And there you have it. That was Matthew 26 through 29. That concludes the daily bread portion of the program. I guess boredom is overtaking folks, because I tell you what, I got a whole list of just people what have been poking me constantly. Well, that's the Red River Valley stuff. We'll just save that, sure. Yeah, don't save. All right, and then let's see who all poked me. Let's see, I got Amanda Sue Little, Crystal Arnold, Dana Jennings, Melissa Holtz, Charlotte Brooks, and Julie Rigo. All are just bored to death being in lockdown, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Because, well, hey, I don't mind being poked. It's just, I'm sorry that it's such a pain with the voice activation not working on the Google, because that's where Facebook presides, and therefore shoot, just about drove myself into the computer there. My Facebook account is set up on my Google page, and so therefore I don't even remember what my passwords or anything are to get into it. And my Dragon Naturally Speaking isn't working with my Facebook page or with my Google pages, and so therefore trying to get access is next to impossible. I can get access, but I can't talk to it without doing all kinds of extra steps to be able to carry on a conversation with somebody. And well, it's getting really difficult. So I figured I would just kind of lay off of that for a little while. But anyway, thank you so much for being out there. Thank you for tuning in to the Shen Show. I got one more song for you, and that would be, well, goodbye, my friends. It's a time to go. I said, goodbye, my friends. It's time to go. I hate to leave you, but I really must go. So goodbye, my friends, goodbye. This here has been Shenandoah Briscoe saying hello and how are you? Thanks for tuning in to the Shen Show, and as always, you know, God loves you, and so do I, so be blessed. And come back and see me tomorrow because, well, hey, I'll be here, and I hope that you are too.